look at the fires first and foremost, the fires is one of the largest land grabs in history, in my personal opinion. The companies that have these energy weapons, and then you have the land developers, which move in immediately after the disaster. And then you have the insurance companies, which only pay a portion of the value of the home to the people that lost everything. These developers that have already made plans on what they're going to build on these sites before the fires even happened.
Welcome back to the show, guys. I'm your host, as always, Sean Kelly. Today I have with me a great guest for you guys today. He's going to have you questioning a lot of things you were taught growing up. Billy Carson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. This is amazing.
Absolutely, man. So with all the craziness going on right now, you got the fires, you got an important election, you got the US dollar, potentially crashing. Where are you at with all this?
Oh, there's a lot going on. I mean, look at the fires first and foremost. The fires is one of the largest land grabs in history, in my personal opinion. And the reason why I said this, the deeper I researched into the fires, you see that you have the companies that have these energy weapons. There's one called Rethinking. I'm not saying that they're involved. I'm just saying they happen to be in these areas, offices in these specific areas. And then you have the land developers, which move in immediately after the disaster. And then you have the insurance companies, which only pay a portion of the value of the home to the people that lost everything. And leaving them with only enough money to literally move, not rebuild.
Right.
And so that clears out the way for developers to come in. And then you have, which I found evidence of, which I did a whole show about this, you have these other people, these developers that have already made plans on what they're going to build on these sites before the fires even happened.
Wow.
How is that possible? And before it's even gotten approved by the city or the state. So there's these plans to build and construct new areas around these regions where the fires or other natural disasters have happened before it happened. So that, to me, there's some type of collusion going on. To me, it's a much bigger thing going on than people realize. And I think it's probably what we're seeing with these fires, the largest land grab in modern history.
Wow. So who ended up buying all the land?
Well, there's several different companies buying the land. So you can look them up online. Wherever you look, you'll find these big developers, though, but they're buying them up in huge chunks, and they're building. Even if you look at Hurricane Maria, it hit Puerto Rico, right? Well, the largest real estate organization there that bought up all those properties that never got rebuilt was the Trump real estate company. And then there's another one that was buying up a lot of real estate in Hawaii. And of course, now there's another one that's buying up all the land that's available in Greece. And now Turkey's on the list. And now people are already making plans to buy land in Turkey. And then, of course, Maui, all that land. And there's some council members of the city council talking about they're already clearing the land off and throwing away people's remnants of what they had on this property.
Wow.
And even if people are sleeping in cars, as soon as they leave the car, they even tow the car away and get rid of the cars now. And so they have big plans. And it's just a way to, unfortunately, clear out the people without asking them, do you want to sell? How much can we offer you? We just clear them all out with a disaster and then rebuild fresh and make trillions of dollars.
So it's all money at the end of the day.
It's a big money. It's a big money thing, And so when you look at that, you look at an election year, you can see all the hocus pocus going on with the poly tricksters. I call them poly tricksters. No matter who you vote for, I think at the end of the day, all lambs are led to slaughter. That's why every time I go to the voting box every 4 years, because I get in line like everybody else, but when I get to the front of that line, I write my name on a blank ballot because I am the president. Literally. Wow. I'm the president. And everyone needs to become their own president. We need to stop relinquishing our power to outside sources and believing that this entity or these people have our best interests at heart when they really, really don't. They only care about lining their own pockets and their own futures and their own generations of their own legacies. We need to be concerned about our own personal selves and our personal families and our own legacy. So I sign my name on the ballot because I nominate myself for president every 4 years.
Wow. So you don't think Trump kind of opposed these elites?
Oh, I think he did. Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt. It's clear. But at the end of the day, I don't care what they all really do, to be honest with you. I think that it's up to me to control what I can control. And no matter what rules and laws or or things that they sign or put out, there's
Yeah.
always a breadcrumb trail that they leave behind.
Right.
And what that breadcrumb trail is how do they master this matrix? They may say, we're going to put this law, this law, this law. We're going to put this tax thing, this tax thing, this tax thing. At the end of the day, they get around all of it. Why? Because they set it up in a way where they can get through it. So I just follow them through the maze.
Right.
And I live my best life.
That's crazy. One of the things you studied extensively was ancient civilizations, and you were able to find out exactly how old humans are, right?
Yes.
So is what they teach us in school correct?
What they teach you in school is correct to a degree. They say that Homo sapiens sapien arrived around 200,000 years ago. Now, that's pretty accurate. What they try to tell you, though, that's wrong is that all life comes from one person. Like the entire population of 8 billion people on this planet came out of one area, which started with one Homo sapien, or one hominid, I should say, that they discovered. That's actually false, super false. When you look at these ancient texts and tablets, you discover that there had been people here long before the 200,000 year mark of Homo sapiens sapien. However, we didn't call them that. They're known as just hominids. They probably are our cousins. Their bodies have been found all over the planet. What's interesting about these beings is that they had larger bones, larger jaw bones, larger brain capacity because their skulls were larger, not from cranial deformation, but actually because they had the way they were born and developed, they had larger cranial. Also, they only had one parietal plate when we have two. And so they were here already. Now, when these other beings arrived on the planet, they call them the Anunnaki. So that's what they call them. It's in the Enuma Elish, it's in the Atrahasis epic, and many other ancient texts. In the Bible, they call them the Anak. In Australia, they call them the Anak, Ananu, I'm sorry. And so all over the world, they're known that these beings existed. The Dogon called them the Nomo. So no matter where you go on the planet, you're going to find that these people were here. And they all say the same thing. These people came down from heaven to earth. The Egyptians say in the time of Zep Tepi, they turned mud into a kingdom. And that they came and arrived here and they began to develop this as a breakaway civilization for themselves.
Right.
It popped out. Hold on. As a breakaway civilization for themselves. And so basically, they then came to a point after working for about 250,000 years on their own on this planet, alongside of us already existing. Our cousins were here about 200,000 years ago, as the time that they began to go to war against each other. These elite people, these advanced beings, I call them.
What caused the war?
The war was they didn't want to work anymore. So there's a group of beings in the ancient text called the Igigi. And the Igigi were the working class version of the Anunnaki. But they weren't supposed to be slaves, but they were being treated like they were slaves. They got tired of this war, of this work, and decided to go to war. So they actually left, and they all got together, and they said, we're going to, they made a plan. We're going to have a coup. We're going to go against the god of earth, Anu, and his two sons, Enki and Enlil. And then there's this whole thing in the Epic of Atrahasis where they encircle this place that they had down in Adam's calendar, which is located in Africa, in South Africa. They found this place. It's there, and the actual gold mines where the human beings were working is there.
Wow.
And it dates back 200,000 years. And this war was going to happen 200,000 years ago, and according to the tablets. And so what happens is Enki says, you know what, I have an idea. Let's not go to war. There's an existing being on this planet. We can actually modify it and add our essence to it and get it to do the work for us. So that is when the genetic modification comes in. So you see, we go from 48 chromosomes to 46 chromosomes. We lose 2 chromosomes because chromosomes, are fused. They fuse them together, and then they put telomere caps on them, which shorten our lifespan. Also, we have junk DNA, which I believe is not junk. I believe in some way, in some fashion, they disconnected some of our DNA. Because I believe, unlike mainstream beliefs, I believe that our ancestors, our cousins, were smarter than us spiritually, consciously, and probably even more in tune with the earth. They can probably navigate using their magnetite crystals in their brains to navigate the Earth's magnetic field. No need for GPS. We still have magnetite crystals, billions of them in our brain. We don't even sense that they're there. We can't sense the Earth's magnetic field right now, but they could. So all these things point to the fact that in some way they genetically modified our cousins to create Homo sapiens sapien, and there's other tablets that back that up. There's even one tablet where one of the Anunnaki women said, we were failing at cloning these beings. because they can't reproduce on their own.
Mm.
So she decided to make a zygote, which is a modern technological term, where she actually took the egg out of one of the hominids, put some of the genetic material of her in the egg, and put it in her own womb, and took it to term for 10 months, and then she gives birth to the Adamu, which means first man.
Mm.
And there's a famous cylinder scroll of her holding this Adamu, first man up, in the British Museum in England. So it's pretty interesting that we have a lot of records of this happening, and all the tablets point to the same established time period of about 200,000 years for Homo sapiens sapien, but they won't acknowledge this as potential real history,
Right.
only as mythology.
So that concept of evolution, that we came from the water, is just BS.
I don't believe the water. I believe in microevolution, right? Like, I moved from Florida to Alaska, and over time, I can acclimate to that temperature.
Right.
My body will adjust, things like that. But for me to go and say that, we came out of the water, and we started as an amoeba, a single cell organism, and then somehow we grew legs, and then we swam around the ocean, and we came out. And I don't believe in that macro. I think that life is designed and formulated. There was one scientist that took a flask and he cleaned it out with extreme heat, and then he sealed it, vacuum sealed it. Then he came back a few days later and he analyzed what was inside that sealed, vacuumed flask. Guess what? He discovered microscopic living organisms in that flask, fully formed. Where did they come from? See, so life in my concept of life is, it's emanating into existence all the time. That's why you'll never discover how many life forms exist. I think that the flower of life pattern is the actual symbol of life, and it's a womb that life emanates through, and it's every Planck unit of space-time all around us, and life is always coming out, already fully designed, fully formed into existence nonstop.
Wow. So you mentioned humans were genetically modified. Does that mean we used to live longer?
Oh yeah, we used to live a lot longer. If you look into ancient texts and tablets, you'll find over 1,000 years, 2,000 years.
Humans?
Whoa. Yes. And even in the biblical text, they talk about extremely long lifespans. But then what happens is, in the ancient tablets, there's this Tower of Babel incident. And it's also copied into the Bible, because these texts were copied into the biblical text. The Bible was written from 100 AD to 900 AD, right? But these ancient tablets go back 10, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 years. Comes first, the chicken or the egg? They copied it from there. But in the ancient tablets, the humans are building this tower into the heavens, and they're going to put a Shem on top, which translates into, believe it or not, rocket. And so they were copying something that they'd seen these Anunnaki beings build. The Anunnaki beings had something called a Duran Key, a bond heaven-earth. There was this tower that they had built into the heavens. And so they were copying this. And Lil, also known as Yahweh in the modern-day Bible, he comes back and sees humans building this. He says, whatever they set their hearts to do, they will achieve it. And he's like, holy crap, I got to stop these people. They're getting too smart. So he destroys the tower, right? And then he confuses their language, makes people start speaking different languages, and spreads humans out around the world in different regions so we couldn't communicate. And then he also did something else. He said, their lives shall be, he said, they shall not live forever. From this point forward, their lives shall be no more than 120.
Right.
The maximum lifespan of a human being, according to modern science, is 120 years. That's if we had pristine conditions and good food.
Right.
So now, again, ancient tablets match what they're saying at Harvard University. What he also did at that moment is he shortened our telomeres. So how did we get to 120 years? Well, when you shorten the telomeres, all of a sudden you find out that the maximum lifespan is 120. If you take off that shortened telomere, all of a sudden you can live longer than 120 years.
Right.
So in Harvard University, a scientist said, let me check this out. So they started experimenting with mice. And they started experimenting and like stopping the degradation of their telomeres, and they got mice to live 3 times their normal lifespan. Dang. So if they can do that to mice, they can already do it to us.
Would you do it?
Absolutely. And I'd definitely do it in a heartbeat. I'd extend my telomeres right now so I can get a chance to see how this world pans out, where it turns, how it shifts, how we get back to the golden age,
Yeah.
But that's exactly what's going on. They understand now that the ancient texts and tablets were correct, but they won't tell us that.
Wow. I saw one of your videos. You said God was not the creator of the universe.
Well, I said that the creator of the universe in the Bible, that God is not the creator of the universe. So what I was saying was, I believe in the creator of the universe, but I don't believe that the one in these books, these religious books, is the actual creator of the universe. I've never read any book scripture, cylinder scroll, papyrus of any type, and I've been to ancient sages, wisdom keepers all around the world. Nobody has ever told me anything that convinces me that they had a direct interaction or had heard or written this word from the creator of the universe itself. It's all written by man. And so any religious book that comes out, you look at the history of that writing, right? If you look at the biblical text, again, it's men writing this information, etching it into tablets later on, which was copied into papyrus papers, which and sheets or scriptures, which were then copied over into that actual canonized book. You look at Muslims, right? An angel appears to Muhammad, and he gives him this information, and then he has a scribe write it down. Again, another man's writing the information into a book. So it's not even, it's not directly being written by quote unquote God.
Right.
So it's always this situation where mankind is interacting directly and writing this text themselves. It's not coming from a heavenly source. In other words, nobody is coming down from God, from space, and then writing this stuff themselves and saying, here's the book, I'm giving it to you directly for me. It's always a man's hand on a piece of paper and a pen, or a stylus and a Sumerian tablet. And so I believe that God does exist because the quantum physics and the quantum mechanics the science proves in an existence of a creator, because we're living in a creation. We're living in a fractal holographic matrix. So that's provable. But these books are written by men, and these men that they're talking about, that they're calling gods, aren't really God. The word God in the Bible, for example, is mistranslated. There should be an S on the end of every word that says God, singular, should be plural. If you go back and really analyze the translation of the word God, it should be gods everywhere.
Really?
They took off the S to usher in monotheism, the monotheistic mindset of a one God religion. But it really is gods. And even God slips up a few times in that book, whoever wrote it, says, there'll be no other gods but me, right? I am the one, I'm a jealous God. I don't want to, that comes from Amun-Ra, aka Marduk, from ancient Kemet. That really doesn't come from the creator of the universe. In the book of Deuteronomy, all these wars that are happening and occurring, and God is sending people halfway around, their region to kill, murder, and torture other people, because he says, one person over there doesn't believe in me, and I want you to kill the women, kill the children, kill babies. It even says you can take the virgins as wives. Now you have abduction, and then bring the spoils back to me. Well, why does God need spoils? You see? So you can tell this is all man-based. This is not God, real heavenly-based stuff.
Wow. So how do you view modern day religion? Do you see it as a net positive, or do you see it being manipulated to control the way people think?
I see modern day religion as a mental prison system. It's a way to mentally enslave the masses of people, and it's worked phenomenally, because if you look at religion, just Christianity alone generates more money in 1 year than all the Silicon Valley corporations, tech corporations combined. You're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry that has a lot of potential weight that they can push into politics financially. And so you're talking about a protected industry, and there's a lot of money there. And unfortunately, the system of religion, it's very contradictory, and it also puts you in a state where you're actually giving away all your power outside. So everyone who's really heavy into religion, they're releasing their power to outside sources instead of taking a journey to inner space and accessing the power that's already inside of them.
That's scary, man. I didn't know it was that much of a money grab.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big money grab. Every day, you look at the numbers. On a weekend, you'll go there, they'll give you the prosperity message, and they'll tell you, give till it hurts.
Right.
And then on Monday, it really hurts when you don't have money for your light bill, but the pastor's driving away in a brand new Mercedes.
Yeah.
And so, you could, the evidence of it is there. And there was a gentleman who came to me one time, and he says, hey, I'm trying to build this business. I need to get a loan. This guy's heavy religion. He never liked anything I had to say about my version of reality. But I'm friends with everybody. I said, why don't you go to the church and ask them for a line of credit? You've been there for 28 years. You've been donating 20% of your income for 28 years. Go there and tell them you need to get $8,000 to build this business.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't do it, of course.
Wow.
You see, so you give everything you got, but you'll never be able to go there and get anything back.
That's crazy. So what do they do with all the money?
Well, they continue to buy more real estate. Well, the biggest real estate holders and landowners in the United States are churches.
Really?
It's a real estate business.
Wow.
Jehovah's Witnesses is one of the largest real estate companies in the world. Really all about real estate. They have kingdom halls. And so they got into the real estate game. So they buy this land, they build these structures on it, all from donations. and then they own this land, they sell land, they flip properties.
Mm.
It's a big real estate game. It's a huge business.
That's insane. So has there been any proof that Jesus was a real person, a real human at one point?
Oh yeah, he's a real person. There's
Yeah.
no doubt. There's a place in Egypt called Coptic Cairo, which I go to virtually almost every year now.
Mm.
Took people there again last year. And the bed that he slept in Egypt is still there. So he was in Egypt from the age of 12.
Mm.
So if you look at the biblical text, he disappears at the age of 12. Well, where does he appear? He appears in Egypt,
Mhm.
right? Ancient Kemet. He goes there to learn the Egyptian mysteries. And you can discover this in a little known gospel called the Gospel of the Holy 12, which was left out of the Bible by accident on purpose. And he's there with his mother, and he's learning the Egyptian mysteries, which were taught by Thoth, the Atlantean priest king, who ruled over the land of Egypt for 16,000 years, one person, according to the ancient Egyptians, not according to me.
How'd he live that long?
They have these things called rejuvenation chambers. They call them the halls of Amenti. According to these ancient texts, he says he would put his body in one, and then he would create another body, clone another body, and he would transfer his consciousness into the second body and walk amongst men, but unlike a man, he would say. And then the other body would be rejuvenating. When that body was ready, he'd hop back into that body.
Wow.
And they have these halls at the Serapeum in Egypt, at Saqqara, where these ancient halls where they would just put bodies in them and transfer from body to body to body and keep on going and traveling all around the world and working.
That's crazy. We can't even do that these days.
No, we just started though.
Yeah.
This is a 2045 project out of Russia, 2045.com, 2045.com. Look it up.
Yeah.
Ray Kurzweil has the 2045 project where they've been transferring animals into a computer, which they did a monkey. So the monkey's in the computer, his mind is, but the body's dead. It thinks it's alive, eating bananas and climbing trees and everything else. Then by 2010 or 2012, they were supposed to have been able to transfer a human consciousness into a robot. They've already done that.
Really?
Yeah, and the United States as well. DARPA has a project called the Avatar Project. I wrote about this in my book. In an Avatar Project, they have a symbiotic link from a soldier underneath a mountain somewhere, like in a bunker, connected to a field robot. It's kind of like Avatar. And it controls it through a mind connection. And if the robot is destroyed, of course, the soldier doesn't die. The link is
I saw a Black Mirror episode about this.
Yeah, that's Black Mirror. The
guy was in space, and then he was controlling a body on Earth.
There you go. And they did this in a laboratory recently where they had one gentleman in one room in the laboratory looking at a video game with a controller in his hand, but he was blindfolded, looking at the screen, but he was completely blindfolded. The other subject was in another room looking without a blindfold and no remote control. And they made a mind link between the two. Real science experiment, peer-reviewed science. And the guy with the who could see was controlling the hand of the guy who couldn't see.
Wow.
And they played the video game that way. So all this stuff is all just coming out now scientifically for us, but it's written in ancient texts and tablets. And the only thing that stopped us from transferring consciousness from one brain to another was data storage. Now we have that solved because Microsoft just came up with the first DNA hard drive. That hard drive can store over 433 petabytes of data, all right? So you're talking about a massive amount of data. That's on 1 gram of DNA. It's a drop of DNA. Imagine 5, 6, 10, 20 drops of DNA.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the storage problem that we've had for eons here since the computer age started is gone, bye-bye, because now we have the data storage to do transfer of consciousness. We have the data storage now for teleportation of material items, which has only been the issue. We've teleported molecules and atoms.
Really?
But never been able to, we've done that for years now. Yeah. We've teleported molecules from Earth to the space station and back again.
Seriously?
To the ISS. Yeah, that's already been done.
Knew that.
Yeah, but we've never teleported actual physical, complex organisms because of what? Storage space. But that problem is now solved. So you'll begin to see teleportation working on a more grand level over time.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Would you ever transfer your consciousness?
I would.
Yeah?
I would, yeah. I would transfer my consciousness.
To another body or to a computer?
To my own body.
Okay.
Because they found a way now where they can actually take a skin cell from you, right? So they would take your own skin cell, it's you. They would then put it in the right laboratory conditions and turn that skin cell into a stem cell. From there, they would program the stem cell to recreate an entire version of you to any year specified. Yeah. And then from there, you can transfer your consciousness into that brand new version of actually you. So it's still you.
You could be a kid again.
Yeah, you can be a kid again. You can be an adult. You can be younger. And you can filter out all the diseases and everything else.
Man, that's insane. What are the Dark Brothers? I've seen you talk about this on your YouTube.
Yeah, the Dark Brothers. So Thoth the Atlantean, he wrote these emerald tablets, right? The emerald tablets of Thoth. In there, he talks about these Dark Brothers, or these people that operate from behind the scenes. And you see them even today. You don't see them, but you know they're there.
Right.
So they navigate the world and they operate from behind the scenes. Like, there's people on this planet that you'll never see in Forbes Entrepreneur magazine, but they're worth trillions of dollars. Forget 100 million, 50 million, 50 billion, 30. No, those people are poor compared to these people. They're worth 700 trillion, 800 trillion dollars. They operate from behind the scenes and they pull all the strings everywhere worldwide. They fund both sides of all wars. And these people manipulate everything from behind the scene. You'll never know who they are. You'll never know what their faces look like. You'll never be able to walk up to their house or knock on their door. And so these Dark Brothers, they actually operate on this planet right now, and they've been talked about for eons, right? That text is over 30,000 years old. And these Dark Brothers, he warns us that they have the power and control over the masses of the planet. But it's our job to realize it, recognize it finally, and take back control. And the only way to take back control, according to the tablets, is to stop playing their game. Once we recognize that we're supposed to all seek the light, we're supposed to all love one another, we're supposed to all work together instead of being separate and falling for divide and conquer tactics, that makes us weak. And that allows them to continue to manipulate. And they also, he says, manipulates us through fear. What do you see all the time when you turn the TV on, right? You look at mainstream news, it's fear nonstop. They just keep pumping it. And once they have the fear inside of you, they just mold you and bend you to whatever they want to do. But when you can see that, when you realize that fear is actually a choice, and then you realize that the divide and conquer tactics is a technique used to weaken us, that we're stronger together than apart, then 8 billion people will not be controlled by less than 100 people.
Wow. What are some common divide and conquer tactics you see them using on the public?
Well, I see the first one, I think I call it the lower level, is just religion. Religion is extremely divisive in terms of the way that it divides and conquers people. Even just within Christianity alone, you have all these different versions of Christianity. And all those people think they got the best version, and all of them can't stand each other, right? I'm not going to Baptist, so I'm Pentecostal, no, I'm Presbyterian, I got the best one. And so, like, for real? And so that creates this division and separation. And then, of course, you have the political system, in my opinion, which also creates separation. There's a lot of inequality that's still, now it's gotten a lot better, don't get me wrong, but there's still a lot of inequality, and they put one group of people against another, especially when they're campaigning. They find ways to manipulate words and manipulate what they're talking about to make it look like they're on this side, not that side. I'm on this side, not that side, because they want to pull votes. That creates the two sides going head to head. It could be racial, it can be economical, it can be, there's very different ways that they do it. It's not always race, but it's always very different ways that they go against each other. Then the financial system creates a lot of division and separation. Some people just don't have the same capability and accessibility to funding and loans and interest rates and so forth, especially when you're in some of these impoverished communities, which you just don't get a chance. Sometimes you fill out an application for a credit card. You can have excellent credit, but because of your zip code, you will not get approved.
Right.
There's still people today that are having they did a whole study on this, all right, behind the scenes. They said, let's try this. People who are getting their house sold, trying to sell their house, the appraisal comes in lower than a different kind of family. So they took all the pictures down off the walls and everything else and put up pictures of different family members, of a different race of people. And then guess what? The value of the house on the next appraisal goes up.
Wow.
So this thing going on where it's all through financial, through real estate, through political, through religion. It's just there. Even my third grade teacher, she had everybody stand up and say what they want to do for a living. I said, I want to be famous and be on TV. Third grade. She chuckled at me and said, oh, Billy, you'll never be famous and be on TV. You're poor. Look where you come from. And the whole class laughed at me.
Crazy.
And I cried. But I'm on TV now. So, but the thing is, that could have demolished me. That could have crushed me.
Yeah.
But that, again, is part of that system of that programming of divide and conquer that keeps people divided and separated, saying you have a limit on you because you're here. You're here, or you have a limit because you're doing this, or you have a limit because you don't have that. And we have to realize that those are all false limitations. They don't exist. We have to unite, and we have to stop allowing this small group of people, these dark brothers, to rule over us by not participating in their systems and their games, and realizing that there's only one consciousness, and we are all part of one source. And we need to understand we have to love each other, man.
Yeah, for real. So with their control of almost everything, including the public education system, do you think there's ways to improve that, educating our youth?
Yeah, there are ways. The ways to do it are literally to take control of the system by finding ways to educate your own kids.
Mm,
We have to know that, for example, the system that's out there now, I'm not saying teachers try their best.
hmm
They just try. And they don't even get paid a lot of money,
Right.
but they're all part of the programming that's been given to them.
hmm
Right now in school, the biggest problem we have is they don't teach you anything. They teach you how to take tests.
Yeah.
So you're being taught how to answer, remember how to answer questions. You're not being taught any real knowledge.
hmm
And so if I go up even to an adult and say, hey, what's 2 times 2? And they'll tell me, oh, it's 4, real quick. I say, now, why is it 4? They have to think for a minute
Yeah, yeah.
because they've been taught to memorize answers. You've been given all your timetables. You've been taught how to memorize what the answer should be. So you're going on a memory system. You're not going on a problem-solving system.
Right.
And we have too many people. That's just one small example. The school system is teaching us how to memorize answers, but not how to solve real-world problems. And because of that, we have a failing society.
Mm.
You see, and we have to keep importing people with these S1 visas or whatever they call them to come here to help run tech and build this and come up with all these great ideas for the United States because we ourselves don't have them in most cases.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that, man. It's all memory. And it's
Yeah.
usually topics that are so useless.
Yeah, that's right. You should take kids. This is how we change things. Number one, you take kids, you put them in a group setting. You put a lot of stuff on the floor, different things that could be parts of different industries.
Mhm.
And you see what kids gravitate towards what.
Mm.
And when you see a kid consistently gravitating towards a specific thing, then what you do is say, we're going to show him how to do this on another level.
Yeah.
We're going to work with this group of kids on this because they're passionate about this. So you have to isolate and find out what the kids' passions are initially. And when you find their passion, then you can help them develop that passion. Then they become experts at that passion. And when they become experts, there's a need for that passion in the world. When they feel that need for that passion that they have,
Mhm.
money is a side effect that shows up in their bank account.
Absolutely. I love that. So did you go to college?
No, I didn't go to college. I took a course at MIT in applied neuroscience, and I got my certificate in applied neuroscience. I took another course at Harvard for ancient civilizations, and I got a certificate in that as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you thought it was a good experience overall?
That was a good experience, and I did it because, well, in this field, I'm talking about a lot of controversial topics. I'm talking about edgy history, right? I'm
Yeah.
on the gray area of history. And so I felt that, well, people need to see a couple things. Let me identify myself as an expert. First, let me write a book. Book became a bestseller. Been a bestseller for 4.5 years,
Nice.
right? Out of 3 million books on Amazon. And then now let me get a couple of certificates under my belt from major universities because it's all about perception, you see?
Mhm.
It's not that I felt like I had to do that, but it's good to have it on the resume so that when people look you up, they go, oh, I think this guy's got something here, at least some foundation.
Right.
And it reels them in and lets them be open to hearing more of what you have to say, you see?
Mhm.
So versus just saying, oh, I'm a researcher. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So now they go, wait a minute. Okay, he spent some time. He's got some education.
Mhm.
He wrote a book. The book's a bestseller. Let me listen to this guy and just see at least what he has to say. And so, it's primarily a part of knowing how to cast out your reel, right?
Yeah.
And put the worm on it and reel them in.
Yeah, you built that resume.
Yeah.
I want to dive into a couple of your clips on your Instagram because they
Yeah.
were very interesting. One of them was you believe marijuana is not from Earth.
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
In the ancient tablets, it talks about the fact that they created this thing called the marijuana, but they didn't call it marijuana. They call it something else, but it has the same characteristics when they describe what it does to you. It's the same thing as marijuana. And they utilize it for a healing mechanism. They actually said, we combine this with colloidal gold and monatomic gold and colloidal silver, we create something called the elixir of life.
Hmm.
So they would extract the oil from the marijuana leaves or the marijuana plant, and they would mix it with colloidal silver and monatomic gold. This is aurum powder that they discovered underneath some of the temples. And so the combination of those two things together, it creates this thing that actually heals organs, increases the processing power of the human mind.
Mhm.
It kills bacteria and viruses in the bloodstream.
Wow.
It's just an incredible thing. And so they would give it to what they call the heroes of old or the savants. And these were these huge Anunnaki beings. It was only exclusively just for them. Nobody else can get access to it.
Yeah. I actually ordered some gold and silver. I
Oh,
saw
wow.
that clip.
Yeah.
So silver helps with diseases, right? Fight off
Yeah.
diseases.
Fights off bacteria, fights off viruses. When a nanoparticle of silver hits or connects to an actual virus, it actually makes it explode.
Really?
And originally, this is what was in hospital. Now they still carry it in hospitals, actually.
Yeah.
But that was the original thing before they used to give. Now they give you I can't say it because But yeah, they give you the stuff.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And then gold helps you process thoughts quicker.
Yeah, gold is amazing because gold is an extremely good device for processing electricity. So the reason why they use gold in technology, right? Everything that's here that we're using right now technologically has gold in it. Why? Because when you put in one end 100%, you get 100% out on the other end. And so gold doesn't lose anything in distance over friction like a regular copper wire would lose some. So you get this high quality. Now, they discovered that when you ingest some of it, it actually speeds up the synapses between the neurons in the brain, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And it also has some healing factors to it as well, as long as you don't overdo it, right? You can't take drink a bottle a day, but it's a tablespoon or a teaspoon a day. And so it's pretty cool how it really has medical benefits to it, or that was talked about in these ancient tablets.
No, I love it because I've never seen any health expert talk about gold or silver.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
you were like the first person I saw.
Yeah, they try to stay away from it. And yes, and we're not doctors. Okay, we're not doctors. Make sure you consult your physician. But this is incredible stuff. I've been on it for a very long, long time.
Nice.
I feel great.
Yeah, you look good, man.
Hey, thank you, man. I'm 52 as of yesterday. I play sports all the time. I can still dunk the basketball.
Yeah, you dunking?
I still dunk.
Okay.
I'm going to play in the next year's All-Star Basketball Celebrity fundraiser.
Nice.
And I guarantee you I'm going to dunk on somebody in that game.
I'll be watching, man. I'll be watching.
Yeah.
So is it true thoughts are multidimensional?
Yes. So you got to understand that according to theoretical physicists and experts in supersymmetry, they discovered that the universe itself is at least 11 dimensions. And I've been talking about this for so long, so I'm so happy the new science came out.
Yeah.
So the universe is 11 dimensions compactified. They're so close together that they're like within less than a Planck unit of space-time above each other in a 90 degree angle. And so there's universes on top of us right now. Literally, everywhere you look, there's another universe there. What separates us is the actual phase differential or the frequency of that dimension.
Right.
And in that dimension, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Now, I've been saying that the mind must connect to these dimensions for over a decade now. And I got laughed and scoffed, and people told me I was crazy, and it's pseudoscience and everything else. The posts are still there. The comments are still there, right? And then just 2 years ago, the Brain Institute discovered that the human brain is connecting to up to 11 dimensions.
Wow.
They've now studied this extensively, run experiments, and they now know that the mind is connecting to 11 dimensions. That was an independent study separate from what Michio Kaku even said about the 11-dimensional universe. It would collapse without 11 dimensions. So would consciousness collapse without 11 dimensions? And the two now, in my opinion, must be somehow linked together, that the universe, 11 dimension, and consciousness is all linked together, and that we ourselves, our consciousness, is multidimensional. Wow. And that thoughts start on a higher plane of existence before they manifest into the third dimension. This microphone, for example, this beautiful microphone that I'm talking on, right? This arm and everything, somebody thought about this. Now, when you're thinking about it, guess what? That's the original platform, the multidimensional platform. So the person who designed this thought about this in multi-dimensions first, in the ethereal platform. Now, all of a sudden, he said, you know what? I want to manifest. I want to make this. Turns it into 2D, draws it on a piece of paper. Then moves into another version of 2D, which is computer-assisted design, CAD. You go to move it into a computer so you can see the different angles, right? Because we're in modern technology now.
Yeah.
Still 2D, even though it looks 3D, it's 2D. Then you take that data from that 2D CAD design and you give it to an engineer. That engineer then converts that what was multidimensional to 2D, he converts it into a 3-dimensional object by actually creating it in a 3-dimensional format that we can move on an XYZ axis in real space-time. So this arm and this mic all started off as a thought in a multidimensional platform, and it was collapsed into a 3-dimensional substructure that we can manipulate in space-time.
That's insane. So we're in the third dimension, right?
We're in the third dimension, right.
And what are the other ones? Like, I'm assuming God resides in one of them.
Well, you have the first dimension, which is just lines, right?
Yeah.
The second dimension, which is connected lines. The third dimension, which we're in here now, right? We can have XYZ axis. And then you go into the fourth dimension, which is not time, as Einstein was saying. People misinterpreted what he was trying to say. You can add time to a third dimension to get an idea of space-time.
Right.
But we know the fourth dimension is a tesseract. A tesseract is a fourth-dimensional space cube. They call it Metatron's cube, right? Like Metatron.
Yeah.
And this cube is a fourth-dimensional cube. And anything from the fourth dimension higher, the past, present, and future happen all at once. Okay. So from our position in space time, in anything in the first and second dimension, we can manipulate,
Mm.
right? And we can kind of manipulate what's happening in the third, but not too much. We haven't really mastered it yet. Fourth dimension can manipulate anything happening in the third, and so forth and so on. The higher you go, the more access you have to more dimensionality.
Mm.
The fourth dimension, you can get access to seeing, for example, we're in this huge hotel right now, right?
Yeah.
In the studio. It would see me walking in. It would see you back there getting ready. And then it would see us sitting here at the same. And it would be us in different rooms, different versions of us all happening at the same time.
Wow.
In higher dimensions. And so you say, now, where's God at? In my opinion, God's on the outside of all of this. Because if you look at the way this universe is designed, it's a fractal holographic matrix. It's a matrix of light.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are both even existing as light. We're beings of light. This has been proven in quantum physics. We know because of wave particle duality that the atoms that make up our bodies exist as waves of light, waves of potential first,
Mm-hmm.
which are light waves, and then they collapse into the appearance of solid matter based on conscious observation.
Mm.
In other words, when I don't look at you, you exist as a wave of potentials. But when I turn to look at you, you collapse back into your same body type. Why? Because the atoms were stacked in a specific way that automatically give me the same appearance that you have in the physical form.
Wow. So we're just light particles, you're saying?
We're light particles. We're not even particles. We're just light waves. Physics.org made an amazing discovery about 6-7 years ago where scientists in a laboratory were able to, for the first time, take a video and a photo of a wave of light as it was just turning into a particle, right? So we know through the double slit experiment in quantum physics, we have this idea of wave particle duality, where when they shoot electrons into this little microscopic box through this slit, when it hits the back wall of that box, when they weren't looking, it was creating a wave pattern. When they said, let's put a camera in here and see what's happening, how come these little individual dots of electrons, there should be like little spots on the back.
Right.
When they looked, it went back to making little dots. When they weren't looking, it was a wave pattern.
Whoa.
They said, wait a minute, the electrons are making a decision to be waves or digital bits of data based on us looking or not looking.
That's crazy.
So they kept running this experiment over and over and over again. Guess what? They did it with photons. Same outcome.
Wow.
So they discovered that everything in this entire universe exists as waves of potential, which are actually light waves, until a consciousness interacts with those waves and helps it collapse or allows it to collapse or convinces it to collapse into the illusion of solidity. Nothing's actually here. Think about this. There's 8 billion people on Earth right now.
Yeah.
If I took away all the empty space between all the atoms in our bodies, I can fit all 8 billion people into one sugar cube.
You serious?
Yeah. We're not even here.
Oh my gosh. So we're really in a simulation.
We're in a simulation. We're in a simulation and we're not even at base reality. We're far away from base reality.
Yeah.
Think about The Sims, right? The Sims, they have this video game that has people that have lives and jobs and kids and babies, and they go exercise and they play games. Those Sims are going to be conscious because of AI. So as AI is injected into that software, which is happening now, they're going to become conscious. And then they're going to say, well, where do we come from? Who made us? Who is our God?
Just like Terminator.
Exactly. And then will they then, inside of their own program, begin to write programs that create simulations of themselves, which creates another universe?
So it's a loop.
Yes. And so we could be, hypothetically, in a child's science experiment. We don't even know. There's so many layers to reality. We're just in one of the layers.
Yeah.
But there's Google's potential outcomes that exist.
That's nuts, man. I've also seen you talk about ancestral trauma and how it could be inherited.
Yeah.
So you're a believer in past lives?
I believe in past lives for sure. I also believe in epigenetics, which Dr. Bruce Lipton so profoundly discovered about 25, 30 years ago and was laughed at, scoffed at, even got death threats by his peers. But now epigenetics is taught at all genetics and universities all around the world now. And epigenetics is where 15 to 20 generations of your own ancestors and my ancestors, their memories, their feelings, even the things that they went through, good and bad, are inside of our body. A lot of the times people are feeling like they're depressed, like they're having these suicidal thoughts and all these other situations.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of the epigenetics that we pick up and detect are from negative things that happened to ancestors in the past.
Right.
Even though the good ones are there too, for some reason, the body picks up on the dark ones or the bad ones, right? but 15 to 20 generations of your ancestors are in your body.
Mm.
And their memories are part of your genetic makeup, calling out to you nonstop. So we have to understand that sometimes the state of a person's mindset or what they're doing or how they're acting may not be based on how they were raised or what situation or condition they're in,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be sometimes from ancestral memories in their bodies.
Yeah. I'm a believer, man. I did past life therapy and
Yeah.
found out I had like 700 lives and
Wow.
had some big trauma from some of them.
Wow.
She had to clear them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's real, man.
Yeah.
It's so real.
I've also seen you say you can alter your DNA
Mhm.
with positive affirmations.
Yeah.
So for 21 days straight,
Mhm.
positive affirmations, it's been proven to edit your DNA.
Scientifically proven. If you literally write down yourself some really nice affirmations about yourself, right?
Mhm.
Don't copy. If you copy them, but as long as they really apply to you. Some people were telling me they were right. I'm like, does that apply to your life right now? No.
Yeah.
What applies to you? Write that down and speak them out loud, because the cymatic vibrations coming out of your own throat is going to get picked up by your ear, and then that's going to be picked up by the cells in your body. That vibration with that conscious intent, and you speak them out loud for 21 days straight, your DNA will actually begin to rewrite itself. And if you continue to do it, that becomes your reality, whatever you're saying. And so sometimes I post stuff like I have this trip to Egypt coming up, right? Next year we're doing another big tour, and people will comment, "I'm too poor to go on this trip," and I'm like, I comment back to them, do not say you're too poor. Abundance permeates the entire universe. Never call yourself poor, because whatever you call yourself is exactly what you're going to be.
Wow.
Start saying you're abundantly wealthy and rich, and that you can actually make this trip. That this trip is one of the goals that you will definitely succeed at. Things like that. So I tell people, how you're speaking, how you're talking is actually what your outcome is literally going to be.
For sure.
Because what you're putting out is what you're going to get back. And so, but that's the same thing with the affirmations. The more you speak the positive affirmations, the more that becomes a part of your reality.
Yeah. So you're a big believer in manifestation.
I'm huge. Every year I do a Manifest Destiny workshop.
Yeah.
Every beginning of every year. This is going to be my 6th year doing it, and every year it gets bigger and bigger, right?
Nice.
Thousands and thousands of more people. And the results when people come back to me are just amazing. It's like an 8-hour class that I teach once a year to get people's year started off proper. And it's all about the science of manifestation. First, I talk about the actual quantum mechanics and quantum physics. I break down the science. And the reason why I do this, like I told you earlier, I want people to understand how it works.
Right.
Not just to go through this ritual and then, I'm expecting this magical thing to happen. No, let's talk about what's going on behind the veil, so that when you're going through this process that I'm going to teach you, you understand exactly what's going on step by step by step behind the scenes to allow this to happen. And then you can make corrections where you may be doing something or going wrong, or why this isn't working out the way you thought it should. It's all about understanding the science behind manifestation. I think that spirituality can be explained by quantum physics.
I love it, man. There's people manifesting their cancer away.
Yes.
The power of the mind is incredible.
Incredible. Placebo, nocebo, it's depending on how strong the mind is. The mind is going to believe. I remember this study that they did when they were researching war crimes. And they were showing that during, I believe it was the Vietnam War, they would take some of the Vietnamese, they weren't actually giving them hot pokers, but they would take a hot poker and show it to them, and they would stick it on the back of like a pig. The guy would be blindfolded, the prisoner. It would, a pig, and it would smell the flesh. And then they would take one that was sitting in ice. They would put it on the person's body, and the person would get blisters as if they just got burnt.
Whoa.
The power of the mind.
That's nuts. Do you ever get worried that there's people or groups that do not like your messaging and want to come after you?
It happens a lot. We talk about it. I talk about it with my fiance a lot. There's people out there that, for whatever reason, are they're zealots. There's zealots out there. I mean, just to be honest with you, and some people in certain areas are so deep into what they believe that they would be willing even to hurt you for that.
Right.
So it's always that risk, which is why we have armed guards, and we have armed security, and we have an armed driver. And when we travel, we try to have a security with us, just because you just never know what a person is thinking or how deep they are into what their belief system is. Because when you're ripping people's belief systems away, sometimes it can really hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Just hearing what I have to say sometimes, it actually, psychologically hurts people. They're like, I can't. And when they look it up and they feel like I've been wasting my whole life, So if somebody's really deep into it, it could make them kind of angry.
Yeah.
So we do have to take some precautions, obviously. But I'm not going to let it slow down my mission. My mission is to spread this knowledge and give people enough information to where they can become their own researcher and find out for themselves.
It's awesome to see you think that way, because you realize we're in a simulation and for some people that could destroy them mentally. Like, what's my purpose? But it seems like you took the opposite approach.
Yeah, and I think I discovered what the purpose is.
Yeah.
So we're in a simulation. This is a grand experiment, in my opinion. And the grand experiment here is to how long will it take for the masses to actually begin to realize they can recode this program, that they can hack their own matrix that they're inside of. They're immersed in it, but they can hack it from the inside.
Wow.
How long will it take them to realize that they can change this whole thing around and re-encode this entire software program and make it something totally different? They can bring heaven to this universe.
Wow. So literally like the Matrix.
Absolutely.
You're the Neo.
Yeah.
You're breaking out.
I think that we're all Neo, and we just need to understand that, man, we have the power. It's already in us.
Yeah.
It's in our Neo cortex.
I love that.
Yeah.
Anything you want to close off with or promote, man?
I would just love to say, look, we have the second annual Forbidden Conscious Awards coming up next year in August. That's August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Next year, it's going to be a 3-day event. Friday night's going to be an all-star basketball game with celebrities. I'll be playing. I'm going to dunk on somebody. Right? And then we have Saturday morning will be a speaking conference with some of the top speakers in the world. I'll be speaking as well. Saturday night will be a VIP yacht party for dinner. So I hope to see you on that yacht.
Yeah, I'll be there. This is in Florida?
In Florida, yeah. Down in Miami.
I'll be there, man.
And then Sunday will be a book signing in the morning, and then a red carpet 3 to 5, and then the 10-star award ceremony will be 5 o'clock to probably 9:30, and we're going to be honoring people and give them their flowers while they're still alive. Podcasters, radio hosts, archaeologists, TV producers, anything dealing with helping raise people's consciousness on this planet, we're going to award them for the work that they've done.
Love it. Thanks so much for coming on, Billy.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.